All right, here we go. Hold on. Okay, we're broadcasting this on YouTube, and we're also going to broadcast.
Hi, baby girl. I love you. Did you have a good day in school today?
We're waiting for it.
Oh, you saw Savannah? Savannah.
So I said my grandma said hi.
Oh, good girl. Thank you, sweetheart.
Jennifer.
Thank you. I love you. I'm going to have to give you back to Grandpa right now because Grandma's on a meeting, okay?
We finished a few years ago. This movie's been
Jennifer.
Hi.
Who's on? Is that Jennifer?
Yes, it's Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if that was Queenie, so I'm just waiting for Queenie to get on. And
Is anybody talking?
no,
Oh, thanks.
not you. Sorry, just that space. Just put people on mute. All right, you know what? It's gonna be 7:10, and what I want, Lakeisha, are you around, Lakeisha? Or Annette?
Well, Lakeisha's there, and so is Annette.
Okay. Annette, wake up. Okay. Since you're both co-chairs, if you want to welcome the meeting, open it up, and I will take it over once you guys open it. All right, wait, let me hit the record button. Okay, now go ahead. Lakeisha?
I don't know. I mean, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the education meeting.
And health.
I'm sorry?
And health committee. It's a joint committee.
Education and health, and I'll turn it over to Eddie.
Yeah. All right, guys. As you know, we always have to do this to discuss about the capital budget and expense for the Community Board 13. To give a quick rundown of what this means is that it's basically a wish list that the Community Board lets the city know. It's been done over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And I hate to say, as Evie mentioned, certain things like our requests have been left on deaf ears, but that doesn't mean it's still not a priority. As you can see, there was one of the items like we always mention about fixing the boardwalk. It's still a #1 priority, even though they haven't funded or they asked us to ask the elected officials to go and look for the money. It's still a top priority, and until it gets fixed, which we'll hope one day it will, we will get it done. So I'm going to share my screen. All right, that will show the, let's see, here we go. All right, so basically this is what was given back in 2021. And of course, as you can see, some of the responses was they were not funded those years. So looking at what was given in for fiscal calendar year 2023, what we're working on right now is going to be fiscal calendar 2024. So it's 2 years from now. So don't think that whatever we're going to put in is going to happen for this year. No, this is for a budget that's going to be in 2 years in the making. So the first part that we have, let me mention, this is what we look at is #1 is the priority, is what is the listing of what's #1 through 40, I guess. The tracking number is what has been put in. I'll break it down, tell you one day what it says. The request is what the actual item that we're requesting, and the explanation is what we're doing. Lucia, if you can, see if you can send the link to Queenie, because she's calling me right now and I can't get off the phone here. So
All
just
right, email her.
email her and then she'll get it. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right, and then so the explanation is what we're actually requesting. Since this is under capital, as you can see for this example, we requested the rehabilitation of the boardwalk, yeah, and it says that responsible agency is the Parks Department and was supported by Councilman Traeger. Of course, this year will be supported by Ari Kagan and Councilwoman Ina Vertikov. So those will be changed. And of course, the executive budget response is OMB supports this agency position as follows: is partially funded. Contact the Parks Department and Recreation for specific. So, as we know, we're going to be doing both education and we're going to both do health. So, the capital part is going to be very light because, as you know, it deals with structure. The second part is going to deal with expense. So that's more of programs and items that are not structured. So the first item that comes up is number 2, item number 2, which is the request is the other healthcare facility request. As you know, we need a C1 trauma center at Coney Island Hospital. With increasing the population due to new development, influx of tourists during the summertime, we need to see one trauma center in the neighborhood. We understand this is not a city budget item, but we need to make this aware to the city, state, and federal government. That is why this is a priority for the neighborhood. Of course, the response was agency supports the position as follows. This request is not recommended for funding. But of course, we'll put it in here again because I think, or you guys know, it's still needed, even though they cannot address it at this time. All right, so moving on right along, the next part and expense is item number 18. If I missed something, people who have the sheet, you can let me know, but item number 18 is the next one. Oh, and like I said, we're skipping the other ones, like the Parks Department. That will be on Monday. So if you're interested, come back on Monday and we can talk more about that in detail. Number 18 is here. The request here is to renovate or upgrade a senior center. With the growing senior population in the district, we need more senior centers. Public land is limited in the area. A multi-use facility must be built as a multicultural, intergenerational recreational center on city-owned land. This is parkland, city land owned that can be developed by Mark Twain Junior High School, which of course is the pumping station, handball court near the Park Circle, into this needed facility. So of course, we said this to Department of Aging, but they said that they need to have further study for this request to be needed. Just to go a little further into this part, we always request for this, but as you know, it's going to be more than just the Department of Aging. It'll also be the Parks Department for dealing with parkland as a recreational center. It could also be dealt with youth, with intergenerational. It could be dealt with a lot of other city agencies, but they all have to come together to make it work. But the request is there for the senior center to be here. All right, and just a FYI, for people who don't know what's happening, JASA Senior Center on West 12th Street is being, the center itself is being closed down due to the landlord evicting them. We heard that the members will be relocated to other JASA centers like Schroyer houses on West 36th Street and other places in the neighborhood. But for the meantime, the community board is looking or helping the people, the agency look for a needed space. So their needs are going to be addressed quickly instead of waiting 2 years from now. But it might take 2 or 3 years from now. So we will put them in as another request further down the line. But just to give you an FYI that what has happened, they put in, they're taking away a senior center and relocating their members to other parts of the neighborhood. So for us, for the people who don't know, we're #1 community that has a natural occurring retirement community of seniors in the whole New York City. We have 24%.
My name was not on that list.
Nope. We have 24% of the people who are not who are seniors, and is keep on growing. So we have to address those needs, and for them to take away a senior center is unthoughtful of them not addressing the needs here. So we are going to fight for it sooner than later. And that's one of the things that's going to be in there too as capital. All right. So there's no more capital part because there's the school authority, construction authority doesn't really answer to us in this part. And we addressed right now the senior center as a structural part. So now we're going to go to the expense section of this part. And we're going to number, sorry guys. All right. Okay, as this is the expense budget priorities and requests, we're going to number 8, which is, yeah. Okay, as you know, this is the North, which is a natural occurring retirement community, programs and health services. We just here, as they say, need to expand it, the health to assist the aging population. And of course, they support this. Just need to further study by the agency of this request is needed. So that's in there. Before I keep on continuing, is there any questions with the capital before we dig into the expense part? Queenie, it's good to see you. We just put in, we just mentioned about the C1 trauma center that we needed, and that's number 2 on our list. So it's still there, even though they can't fund it at this time, but that doesn't mean that it's not needed. So we put that still in there as number 2. And we just, as you heard, talked about the senior center that's being closed down on West 12th Street. But we also still need to address their programs in the area that's needed. That's where this number 8 comes in, and we support that wholeheartedly. All right.
Are you splitting the conversation into capital and expense?
Yes, yeah, we're into the expense now. So anything that
yeah, I'd like to ask about the trauma center.
Yeah.
As you may remember, after last year's meeting, I asked whether there was any further documentation, studies, or reports that would be used to justify the construction of a trauma center, because as most people know, nothing in government ever gets built unless there's written justification for it, because we're talking about spending a lot of money. So I reached out to Coney Island Hospital and was in touch with Bridget Ingram, who's their director of
public relations.
And I told her that, you know, the community has been asking for a trauma center for years. And I was wondering what the Coney Island Hospital's position on that was. And she wrote back, she was very gracious, and she said, I realize this has been a priority for CB13, but unfortunately the cost associated with a level 1 trauma center is prohibitive at this time due to the requirement of 24/7 specialty and trauma surgery coverage. However, Coney Island Hospital is able to care for hundreds of traumatically injured patients per year in its fully prepared resuscitation rooms. The hospital has a trauma response team on standby for any incoming codes and performs multiple drills to be ready for patients that are brought in for care. So basically, we've got a situation where the community has been asking for something. We have no justification for asking for it. The hospital doesn't want it, and they've said that they are not prepared to fund it. They said in the budget request for the last several years that this is not something that they are intending to fund. None of the elected officials have championed this issue. And I believe the community board, without having any kind of justification for this request, is wasting its time keeping it in the budget. So
Okay.
I would recommend that you drop this item from the budget unless you could come up with some kind of documentation, studies or reports that show that this is justified.
I think that's a good information that you've given us. We have spoken to them in the past where, as you mentioned, they have no funding. It doesn't mean that the need isn't there.
Eddie,
Well,
Okay, okay, go ahead, Abby.
may I talk?
Yes, you can talk.
Okay, I am a former member of the Community Advisory Board of Coney Island Hospital, and Craig, you're wrong. Coney Island Hospital has been pushing for this, okay? You are wrong. They have been pushing for this. They keep getting denied, okay? Lutheran Hospital seems to be the trauma center of Brooklyn. When there's an accident on the Bell Parkway, right by Coney Island Hospital, they take the person to Lutheran. No, Coney Island has been fighting for a trauma center for years. So Craig, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And I'm
I'll
sorry.
forward you the email that they sent me
Craig?
saying that this is not something that they want. I'll forward it
Craig?
to you. It's not my words, it's their
Craig?
words.
Okay, I wish you would send it to me because I will send it to the Community Advisory Board.
Yes,
I
please
think, I
do.
think something was misinterpreted because they have been pushing for this for years.
HHC says in black and white, you just read it for yourself, that this is not recommended for funding. That's the response you've been getting from this budget request for years. And I have the email from their own staff saying this is not something that they want. I'll forward it to you. These are not
Please
my
do,
words.
Craig. Craig,
I'm
please
just
do, so I
suggesting
can-
that you come up with some kind of justification if you
Craig,
intend to do
I
this
am no
again.
longer on tab.
Because submitting this year after year after year without doing anything differently is not going to yield a different response.
Craig, could you please send that to me and I will forward it?
Oh, I absolutely will.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so that in itself, we're leaving it there for now, okay? I'm sorry. Only because, as mentioned, even though the money is not there and the facility is not equipped with the building being expanded and growing, should not be left out mentioning that is needed. So that when there is money in there, because you know and I know that they're changing the name. That's a big change. So they want to do something in what do you call it? In promoting themselves, they want to go bigger. So they don't go with just a name change. There's something bigger. And I hate to say this, but CAB members know that they're going to be building another wing again, taking down the other old building eventually. So everything there will be all brand new. So it's just a matter of time. So I do understand your point, but at this time, as a community knows that we're right by the beach, they're right by the highway. Why they're going to Lutheran for the needs for the trauma center? Yes, it costs a lot of money. It always costs a lot of money. 24/7, standby doctors, yes, but like you said, it's a city hospital. That's the whole thing. It's a city hospital versus Lutheran, which is not. I don't know. Lutheran a city hospital. All right. I mean, if they're private, then that's a big difference there. So, us getting what we need down here is us pushing it. So, all right. So, not that you don't agree with what you're saying. Understood. What banging our heads not gonna make anything different, but the need is still there. Okay. All right. So we're just giving you number 8, which is expanding senior programs for the area for the aging population. Next is, let's see, number 10. Okay. This is addressing a public issue request. This is about the NYCHA with air quality problem that's happening over there. This is where we put it in as one of the top 10 about people getting sick in NYCHA centers because of the air quality. And of course, they said that they don't want to do any tests or studies to do this, which is ludicrous because we know that there are mold problems and stuff like that. It's just more of us pushing them to do it. So we left this in there for that part.
And can I make a quick comment on that?
Go ahead.
So that the response that you got here, this request is not recommended for funding, is the same response that you got from HHC on the request for the trauma center. And what most community boards are not aware of is that there's a section in the city charter that says that if your requests are denied, you're entitled to some kind of a written explanation for that. Most agencies won't do that unless you point out to them that this is a requirement that they do it. I'm assuming that you've not received any letters from the
We
Department of
haven't-
Health and
we
Mental
haven't.
Hygiene, nor from HHC, giving you any kind of detailed explanation as to why they are denying the request.
Yeah.
But it is your right to ask for it. And if you did ask for it and cite that section in the city charter, you will get a further response from them. So you could move this conversation to the next level when you resubmit these things from year after year.
All right, we can look into that and see if they have a written response for it. Between you and I, we all know that they'll probably say that there's no money in the budget, and that's why they're not doing it. Not that it's not a valid use of doing what they need to do, but they're gonna say their priorities are used for other things like hot water and heating. And mode is not top 1, 2, you know, so and they're not going to tell us that specifically. They're just going to say that the money is going to be funded elsewhere, where it's needed more urgently.
We don't know what they're going to say until
I
we.
didn't say that it isn't, but like I said, knowing in the past what they have written or discussed during the budget consultation, because we do go through budget consultation and we ask them why isn't it funded? They're like, it's not our priority, or we don't have the money to do that at this time. And that's why we put it in here again. Okay, so just
Andy?
yes, Tanya.
Question.
Okay.
So, why don't you make NYCHA responsible for this?
There's another section that is with NYCHA, I think, that's going down, but that's under housing part. This is under the Department of Health.
Okay, but the center belongs to NYCHA, right?
Yes.
I mean, I would put NYCHA as the responsible party. And they have a special department that deals with mold and mold remediation. So it would make sense.
I think it is also in addition to us asking it from NYCHA. So it's more of, if we did ask it from NYCHA in one section, that this is also getting it from the Department of Health. So it's like a 1-2 shot. So if they don't listen to their own people, us asking it through NYCHA, now they're hearing from the Department of Health.
Okay.
So, so it's not like, yes, I'm sure NYCHA, as you also know that community board doesn't really have a stronghold with a good working relation with NYCHA. We put in our complaints in there, but they always go to the management because they're in itself their own authority, and they are responsible for the heat, hot water. I mean, we could report it to Con Ed, to DEP and stuff like that, but they're like, no, we can handle it and we don't need your help. And based on that, you get the elected officials going after them because they're the ones who can actually get more of the response from them. All right. So just moving right along. So we're leaving those in. So all right, at this time. All right, and then going for the number 12, as you mentioned again, this says Coney Island suffers from a high incident of respiratory illness affecting the neighborhood population. Okay, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically it's just saying that we want them to get a study and advocate, trying to improve health and the environment. And of course, they said that they would try to do it within their existing resources. And to this date, they haven't really done anything still. So that's why this is still here. Okay. And it deals with, like you said, the mold, and this is outside of NYCHA. So that's why this is still here on this part. And everyone knows this is the 10th year for Sandy. So having this here still reflects that Coney Island is still neglected in getting some things that should have been addressed back then when FEMA came in and everybody else came in, but yet nobody at that time worked with us to get these things done. All right, so the next part we have is number 16. All right, this is dealing with youth. So it's provide, expand, and enhance youth adult literacy program. We need to provide adolescent literacy program for service our youth. We get a chance to get their GED diploma to get them to the next level. And they said that they just need more study, and OMB doesn't take any position at this time. But I know for a fact that UNS has gotten some funding from DYCD in helping with the adolescent literacy program. So that is some good news that they've been funded. Whether or not they are funded again this year, we don't know, but we could put it in here still. But they're only one group of thousands of people that it needs this programs. So if they're one, we should have 2 or 3 or 4 of them. And one place they can have it is at their local public library, which is usually the place where people usually go and get information and want to learn more. All right. Okay, next is number 17, which is provide ESL, basically. And of course, we have a growing population of immigrants, and we need to address the concern. ESL, English as a second language services are needed. And of course, they said that they'll take into consideration. I know that the ESL classes are in Brighton Library, but that's the only one that I know of. If there is other ESL classes, we haven't heard from them, but we need more, because I know we have the Russians, we have the Pakistanians, and we have the Spanish people that all need translations and ESL to learn and to get better. Yes.
I believe Shorefront JCC and Brighton First conducts ESL classes.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, we need more. So this is a request asking them. Aaron, do you have something to say too?
I just want to comment here as well. As you know that we recently also have a large influx of Ukrainian refugees in Brighton Beach, along with all other which you mentioned already, Urdu, Spanish, and Russian communities. There is a high influx of Ukrainian refugees as well. And right now, I don't see much of ESL classes available apart from the library in other parts of CB13.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is more. Also let the people know that this is the wish list for 2024. So this is not happening right away. All of this is something that we're looking 2 years down the line. But if something like this, like as mentioned, because of the Ukrainian influx of the refugees, we can definitely ask them more for immediate or emergency money, which I'm sure the Councilwoman Vertical has been working on. So something like that, they shouldn't wait 2 years. Let's put it that way. This is more of a structural program that they would have, but definitely if they are needed for the time being, emergency money or discretionary money from the council can be given to help out. Because I know that they're having after-school programs for the Ukrainian refugees on the weekends, and they have been looking around for expansion. They have up to 250 people now, and they're looking for places to expand. So we're hoping that they can be somewhere that can be found, whether it's a school or a community center or a place that can help out. But they need to house 250 people on a weekend to help them out with either activities or even ESL or services. So that just to give you a heads up on that. And they're not waiting 2 years for that. So those things are a more upfront and immediate that needs immediate attention. But it is good to know that yes, we do need some structure program for ESL for the community that's still growing. Okay. All right, the next one, number 18. Of course, we just need more staff. That is a given. We just need more teaching staff. That is explanatory. The next one, number 19. We need to address health issues. This is just an ongoing thing about we need to address teenage pregnancy in the neighborhood. And they said that there are they recommend this as budget request, but at this time the availability of funds is uncertain. So they're like I said, see if there's money in the budget to work with teenage pregnancy. But that's ongoing issue that we always need. All right. The next part. As you mentioned, as people notice, this is all about programs. So this is an expense part. We went over earlier was the capital, and the capital part was things that are structurally made that is not a program. So anything that is not a program, is not a structural item, is in this section that we're going through right now. So number 20 is what we have next, is to increase staffing for homebound adult program. As you know, we're increased North population. We need more personnel for this program. And of course, they said they need study, but OMB doesn't take any position at this time. But it's a given that it's increased, especially with the homebound people because of the pandemic. People have been more and more wary of going out to the senior centers. So because of that, people are more dependent on deliveries and homebound personnel to help with this. So we put this back in again. All right. Number 22 is provide and has training skill for high school students at risk of dropping out. Okay, basically it's more of trying to work with getting more what do you call it, skill training and employment services for high school students that are at risk of dropping out. Alternative high school is at its field and needs to be expanded and explained. This, let's see, it said the OMB supports the agency position as follows. Presently, there are a variety of agency-funded programs in the district for this target area. Additional programs are contingent upon available funding and is distributed through an RFP process. Organizations are encouraged to apply. There are things like we have is Workforce One. I know that Keisha knows that, and there's other things that are training programs in the area. I'm not sure what the names are, but I know that they help people in NYCHA and other needed things for the youth in the area. We have them in our newsletter. If anyone ever looks at it, it's in our newsletter that people can sign up for between the ages of 18 to 24. And then after that, you're considered an adult. But we need this in because we do always need some skill training programs in the area. All right, so moving right along to number 27. Okay, this is to address other health issues. This is basically to say that we need continuing shots for the flu shots, measles, and everything else for the immigrant community. The outreach must be translated to many languages for the target audience. Then explain to them the essential vaccine. Basically, it's just for the immigrant population that we try to address. And as I said, they're trying to accommodate this. So we're still putting it in because if they haven't finished it, well, now that we have monkeypox and polio, you know, all these things need to be out there again and translated into other languages too. So this is still going to be here for the health department. All right, next part.
Eddie,
Yes,
do
yes.
we want to add COVID booster shots to the
See, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, well, we can put it in. I don't see no harm because I mean, I don't want to put in monkeypox, but that just dates it. But I definitely put in booster shots. So it could be any booster shots for any other types of vaccine that they have out there. Okay, but yes, all right, we could definitely put in the word booster shots. Thank you. All right, so just moving right along, we have is number 31 and okay. Oh, all right. Now in this section here are what we could consider or call continued support. What happens is, yes, some of these things are funded by the city, with the agencies, but at the same time, we don't want to forget that if we didn't request it 1 year, that they're going to forget us if we never ask it again. So based on this, we have continued support for the drug prescription awareness for the campaign for the community. Everybody needs to know, that there's any CBOs to address this problem. They said they support this, and this is a good thing, but we also want this to be put in so that if next year for some reason the money is taken out, we could ask and say that, look, we asked for it and it's still a need and it's a continued support. So we just left this in there to begin with, okay? So let's see. The next part. And up 31. Sorry, 39. Wait, yeah, we get 30, we get 31. I'm trying to go to 39. All right. Okay, this is for provide and enhance housing assistance for young youth that are leaving foster care. All right. Basically, this says we need to enhance the housing assistance for youth that are leaving foster care. We understand that at the age of 18, young adults does not have a secure job to afford an apartment or some type of housing assistance, or some kind of housing assistance needed to supplement the rent. So they do offer this at ACS, but we basically need them to continue to do it for us. So we just left this here to say that it's needed in our neighborhood too. All right, then I think our next and last, yes, next and last one is coming up is number 40. This is increased transportation services capacity. As you know, Rapid Women does the Project Ride, and because of that, we need them to continue this. As I mentioned before, if we left this out and the city then took the program out, then it showed that we never supported it. So we need this in here to say that we support this program that Rapid Women has on JCC for Project Right, and that's why it's still here. Okay, and it's always further down the line because it's not a top priority, but it's a priority in itself. All right, and then we have 42, which is we want them to expand enhance funding to support higher education, workforce development, or youth leaving foster care. Basically, this is to provide funding for higher education or workforce development opportunity for youth in foster care. We see youth without a college degree or training skill to compete for a job. We feel that a CTE, a certified technical education degree, will offer them a skill once completed. And then, of course, they say that they currently have the program, so we need this in here still for them so that we know that they'll get it supported. And then the last one is here, the assign more non-teaching staff to provide social health, social health and other services. We need to provide more school psychologists and social workers in our school system. And they said this is already funded. I'm not sure if it's 100% funded in the school, but we just need it here because this was introduced, I guess, 2 years ago from Councilman Traeger. So we just want to make sure that this is still in here for 2024. Okay. And then other than that, that's it, guys. We're done. So let me just unshare the screen so that we can get back to the full page. All right, guys. So we went over for education and health committee, and we just want to find out now, is there anything that we've missed or that we should put in this year? For go ahead, Craig.
Thank you. So you do have a very impressive array of health and education related requests.
Yeah.
I think some of them could be written differently so that they're justified in a better way, so the agencies have more to respond to. But one thing that I noticed hasn't been included, and I believe should be, and I hope you believe as well, committee members, is there's nothing in the requests for addiction and recovery services. And Coney Island, we learned at a precinct council meeting a couple of years ago from a wonderful presentation that was made that Coney Island has the third highest number of overdoses in the borough, that we fall behind Bed-Stuy in East New York, and that 3 New Yorkers die every 15 minutes from overdoses. And I think many people have heard about the opioid crisis that particularly affects Southern Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I know when I'm walking around the Stillwell Avenue station, for example, that I find the station is often swarming with people who suffer from mental health and addictions. And we talk about these things and we complain and we get frustrated, but we haven't really done anything ourselves to help ourselves. The city started last November a program called Overdose Prevention Centers. And it began as an experiment. Right now it's operating in 2 neighborhoods in Manhattan, in Washington Heights and East Harlem. And these overdose prevention centers are places where people with addiction problems can go to get clean needles, to get counseling, to get referrals to other services as well, so that they're no longer having to take up residency on our streets and sidewalks, so that they have a safe place to go where they get compassionate care. And the city and federal and state agencies are all looking very closely about what's happening out there, because harm reduction is the way that people have been moving these last few years. I believe that Coney Island can benefit from harm reduction. I believe they could benefit from additional addiction and recovery services. And I would like to see this community board go on record requesting an overdose prevention center in Coney Island. And I would go so far as to suggest that there is space inside the Stillwell Avenue station itself, which is located adjacent to a police precinct. The transit police has their headquarters there, so that any concerns about public safety affiliated with a facility like this, we would hope people wouldn't have any, because it would be located adjacent to a police precinct in space that's not being used by the transit authority. And even if they can't get space in the station itself, somewhere close to that station seems to be where there's a lot of people congregating. And I hate to see visitors come to the neighborhood and the first thing they see are people that they have to step over at the subway station. We're not doing our neighborhoods any benefits by letting this problem go and not doing anything about it. I'm happy to propose language to Eddie for a budget request, but I'm hoping that the committee would like to go on record requesting an overdose prevention center for Coney Island.
Okay, real quick about that, because I know for previous health committee meetings that we had, nobody wants it in the backyard. That's basically what it comes down to. We do have 4 Oasis treatment centers, and they're all located near the subway. One is at CHI, one is at on Stillwell Avenue itself. I forget what is it, ICH, I think it is. Barbara knows. Barbara is the one your daughter-in-law used to work at. And then the other one is at IDG, and now we have the one on West 23rd Street and Surf Avenue, which is Surf Point that just opened up the other day. And those are the ones that we have in that close proximity of Coney Island. Brighton Beach, I'm not sure where they have them, but they're not as known in Coney Island, the Oasis one. And they are being treated. I can't tell you if they have a program after they get the treatment. Because like I said, those are specific ones that were publicized in the media, whereas everyone that is Oasis has a program for them. I'm not sure how extensive they are with their program, but I know Surf Point is the newest one that we have as addiction recovery one, and I hope Lucia knows. They said that they have 150 beds, and they hope to have it filled up. So hearing that they said they hope to have it filled up means that they're not going to be of capacity yet. So and it's for both men and women. So that's a good thing to address. So if that's one as addiction recovery place, Keisha, you were there yesterday with Queen.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing too, just to state.
Okay.
One of the main things that they also said was that no one will get turned away. So when they come in, it's not like they'll say, well, we don't have no room, come back in 2 weeks. They'll still do the intake, and if they don't have a spot here in Coney Island, they have other locations like Red Hook. I believe one is in Williamsburg. So it's really up to the person if they want to get the help. You can't go to the train station and make them go and get, these services.
Yeah, I mean, other concerns.
They're a great
also,
facility. I helped them cite the one in Red Hook,
Yeah.
and I have to speak, very highly of them.
Yeah,
That's
Donna Ray is the one,
that's a
yeah.
residential program. What I was talking about was an outpatient service for people who are not interested in checking into a facility, for people who are not ready to give up their addictions yet. To basically prevent overdoses from continuing to happen on our streets and sidewalks, so that they would have a place to go for compassionate care.
Yeah, I think also tie that into safe subway program or it's a safe subway plan where they dealt, or the city is trying to deal with the homeless getting off at the last stop and off the train and off the station. Because once they get off the station, where do they go? Our concern is more that they're wandering around the community. During the daytime, that's one thing. They can have, go to the beach, the boardwalk, and all that. But once they get kicked off in the middle of the night, where do they go there? That's our biggest concern. Not that they're, what do you call it, drunk or detox or on drugs. It's just more that these are homeless that has problems. They're, like you said, this is a bigger issue than us asking in this program. I don't know if this specific type of program is what we need to put into the area. That I'll leave up to Queenie if you want to mention anything. If you want to say something about knowing what comes into the neighborhood. Do we need another type of outpatient for the people? You want to unmute Queenie? There we go.
Additional services most certainly, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear that.
Additional services also most certainly needed in the area.
Mm.
For the homeless that's coming into Coney Island, getting off, they were being pushed off the train and they come directly down to the bottom west side, and they're just creating a lot of problems. In addition to a lot of these adult homes, these people come out and they're out all day long with no place to go. They can't go back to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They urinate in the street. They're begging, they cursing. It's a bad situation.
Okay, so my question to the Health and Education Committee members, do you want to put this in the budget for 2024?
I think it's a good thing to do at the rate that the amount of people that's wandering down to this end of Coney Island. It is very bad.
Okay.
We know we have folks, but there's
understood.
so many more
Alright.
that's just walking in.
Okay, anybody want to talk or put in their 2 cents too? Nope, okay, so if you want to, we can write this into as, I'm not sure what number it is, but it will be an expense. It will probably be under a request for other types of assistance for the health department. And we'll see where it has, where we can put that in as other, because I'm sure they don't specifically say about, On Point NYC at this time. But we can put in, say, programs like an On Point and see if
Better
that's
accountability.
Mhm. And like I said, it's just more of, is it something that is needed as another center? But that's up to you guys to decide if you want to, okay?
Well, I strongly feel that a lot of the people that's staying into these adults' homes, they really need to find a location for them to go, because I think it's so inhuman to have people out in the street, no place to go. You got to be out by 7:30 in the morning. You can't go back to 3:30 in the afternoon. What do they do?
Yeah.
I mean, they have no place to go. They can't even go to the bathroom. So they just use the bathroom in the street.
Okay, so what we can do for this part, Craig, if you want,
Galvanize it, take some money and
put some narrative together, not too long, because we have to put this into the listing. And we'll put it in as one of the expense part for 2024, okay?
Thank you.
All right, and is there anything else that should be mentioned, or?
Eddie?
Yes,
Eddie, I missed the last thing. Did you ask Craig to put together a narrative?
yes. that
Oh,
was-
good, because I was gonna ask Craig to do that, so that we could touch all the points.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
No, but it's understood. I mean, like I said, I think sometimes if you ask a certain group of people, they'll say that we have too many. And then at the same time, because they say it's not in my backyard. And then other times is more of, do you want the people to go to downtown Brooklyn, to get the services that's out of the neighborhood? So if it works, that's good. If it doesn't work, we understand. So the other thing that was put in the chat, Tatiana, was about the accessibility. That we can talk about on the transportation committee on the 19th. Because something like that, I know that they're looking, I'm not sure if they're looking to put an elevator there, but they might be putting an elevator over by Brighton Beach stop, either there or Stillwell, or one of the two, so that it'll be more ADA compatible. Okay, but I know that there's nothing planned for West 8th Street stop or the Ocean Parkway stop. But just to give you an FYI, the Neptune Avenue is slated for elevators. The question is how much or how fast they're going to do it. That's another story, and how long it's going to take. Looking at the platform, if anyone ever been on Neptune Avenue, it's an island platform, which means it's very difficult to put in an elevator, only because remember, you have to go from the street to the token booth and from the token booth to the platform. And you have to do it at the end of the platforms because you can't put it in the middle because there's no way around the elevators. So the question there is, can it be done? And if not, they're gonna have to reconstruct the whole station. Time will only tell, so we'll figure it out. But it is slated to do elevators on Neptune and West 6th Street. Okay. So let's see what else. Anything else needs to be addressed or that we missed with education or health? Nothing else. And let's see what else. Yeah, that's, I mean, if there's nothing else, I guess that's it. Queenie, you want to say anything else or?
I'm just wondering about the accountability for people that own these adult homes and getting paid by the government to take care of the people, and they neglect to follow through with them.
Yeah.
I just think it's so uncaring and so inhuman to you getting money, you want the money, but you don't want to take care of the responsibility that comes along with it.
Yeah, they don't give no programs, no nothing with it, and it's a shame. I mean, with the one that they had over at Surf Manor, which was the one that's now the new recovery place, it was a horror place over there, and we realized it was a psychiatric adult home center, and that in itself, adult home is one thing, but to have a psychiatric adult home, it was more of the people needed more attention. And for that, we're glad that they're not here anymore. But at the same time, hopefully the new people will be a better neighbor to us in the long run. And I think something like that we'll wait and see what happens from there. Okay. All right. And okay, so we finished with the smart Queenie. You want to go with old business, new business? All right. So is there any old business? Any old business? No raised hand. All right, is there any new business? Nothing. All right, guys. All right, then I guess that's all for this meeting. Thank you very much for helping us out to figuring out what is needed. And like I said, if there's anything that needs to be addressed, call the office. We're there to get complaints for now. This, as you know, is going to be 2 years from now, our wish list. So thank you again for helping us put this together, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.